Hey guys, welcome back to my garage. I know it's been a while, but here I am back again with all my bikes to give you 10 simple steps to winterize your motorcycle. But enough with the chit chat, let's get on it. Obviously, the best thing for the bikes is to be run all year around. But some of you guys are in a northern cold part of the country and you actually need to store your bike for a couple of months, 2-3 months a year, because it's impossible or near impossible to ride outside with all that snow and rain and everything else. Now, there are a few things that you can do to the bike so that when spring comes back, you're ready to go. You just grab the bike and go for your first ride, and you're gonna need a few supply to make that happen. But let's talk about the very first step that you need to do to winterize your bike. And obviously the very first step is to wash the bike. That is not that difficult. Grab whatever solution you have, whatever soap you usually use. Wash the bike thoroughly. If you have a dirt bike or something that goes in the mud quite a bit, this thing has been working pretty good for me. But other than that, everything will do. Wash the bike thoroughly, then move inside the garage, and let's move on. Step number 2, you might want to wax the bike around and make sure that all the plastics are protected. And you also want to spray a film of whatever lubricant on your metal parts, the engine, the forks, and whatever else that can actually rust throughout the year. So WD-40 should do. There are specific products for it. As always, I'm going to put some links in the description and you guys can choose for yourself. Step number 3 is time to clean the chain thoroughly and then lube it up. I do have a video on how to clean and lube the chain, so go check the description down below. There is going to be a link for that video, and I might actually put it up there. So check around, there is going to be a link on how to clean and lube the chain, and let's move on to step number 4. Step number 4, it is time to change the oil on your bike. Now, if you changed the oil not too long ago, you can let it be. The oil is fairly clean in there, so you'll be fine. If you haven't changed the oil and you're somewhat close to the time where oil change is going to be due anyway, change the oil, change the filter, so that springtime the bike has brand new oil in it and all the components have been soaking in there, and you can go straight for a ride without the need of having to replace anything. And as always, I do have a video on how to change the oil and filter on multiple bikes, so go check it out, link in the description. Step number 5 is replace, or you have an option here, test the coolant in the bike. Either case, it's good that you make sure that the level is where it's supposed to be and that the fluid inside is still viable. So there are a bunch of different test kits on the internet. Go in there, they're fairly cheap. Get one and that will prevent you from having to take apart half the bike to replace the coolant itself. But if the test comes back bad, well, it's time to replace the coolant and moving on. Step number 6 is to fill out your tank all the way up, especially if the bike has a metal tank like the Scrambler. When it comes to the Aprilia's tank is made out of aluminum. Should not rust because it's aluminum, but you never know. Fill it up all the way. Add a good stabilizer to the fuel so that the ethanol in the fuel doesn't go bad. And when spring comes back, you don't have the foul smell coming out of the tank and your bike will run just fine. Now, one thing you want to do after you add the stabilizer in the bike, run the bike a little bit, and I don't mean run it in the garage, I mean go out, take it out for a spin, come back and top it off again. That will assure that all the fuel with the stabilizer on goes around the whole bike and leaves a protective film around. On that note, if the spark plug are easily accessible, you might want to remove the spark plug and spray a little bit of lubricant inside the cylinder head. On some bikes it's fairly easy, on some other bikes like the Aprilia might get a little complicated, so you might not want to do that step. So run the fuel with the additive inside and call it good. Now, if throughout the winter you actually want to run the bike, remember, starting it up and just running it, standing still, is not good for it. You actually need to run it around. So you either go for a spin or you just let it be, and if you've done all the steps so far, the bike will be fine. But moving on. Step number 7, fairly easy. Plug the exhaust like that. And that is because you don't want rodents to go inside to start and make a nest, and also you don't want moisture to go inside your exhaust and rust it out. You might also want to cover the airbox. Now, on some bikes it's easier to get to the airbox. In the case of the F800 GS, it's 6 bolts. Over here you remove this cover, you're in the airbox. When I say cover the airbox, I don't mean cover it like that and done. When I say cover the airbox, I mean remove these, remove the air filter and plug the intake hole of the airbox. Now, depending on how humid is where you live, you might want to do this or might not. If it gets cold but not that humid, you might skip this step. But if it's raining, lots of humidity, lots of moisture in the air, you might want to do that. And it's very easy. Just grab a plastic bag with a rubber band, put it around the intake and plug it up. They'll accomplish obviously 2 things: not allowing the moisture to go inside the duct in there, and at the same time will keep the rodent, if you have that problem, to stay out and make a nest out of your airbox. Step number 8 is time to get a battery tender to the battery on the bike, obviously. Now, all my bikes have one of those, the F800, the Scrambler and the Aprilia. The Aprilia didn't came with it, I have to add it, but fortunately when I bought this battery tender over here, one came included with it, so put it on the Aprilia and that was it. Now, when you do this, you need to know what kind of battery your bike has. For example, if you have a lithium battery, you need a different battery tender. If you have a BMW, you need something that is compatible with the CAN bus on the BMW. When it comes to this battery tender over here, this one is a smart battery tender. It has 12 volts, 6 volts and lithium 12 volts. Also, it goes through cycles, so that it's not just charging the battery continuously, but it stops, let it discharge up to a certain point and then charges it back up, and is obviously compatible with the CAN bus on the F800 GS. So this one was a good buy for me. It's a Noco battery something. There's gonna be a link in the description to make it short. So plug this in so that in springtime, when it's time to go, there is no hesitation, put the key in, turn, start the bike and off you go. Step number 9 is raise the tire off the concrete. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a center stand like on the F800 GS, you can get away with a simple jack under the skid plate, which will keep the front and the rear tire off the ground. That will do. Or if your bike doesn't come with a center stand like the Aprilia over here, and you're sporting a set of performance tire with a very soft compound, you might want to spend some money and get yourself a set of bike stands. because the soft tires will square off if left on lean on the pavement for a long time. So this set over here I bought, I believe, in 2005 or 6, so they last a long time. They do nothing but raise the bike, so there is no wear and tear on them, and on top of that they are adjustable, and I used it with many bikes that came through my garage. Just make sure they're made out of solid metal and they have all the proper braces. When you raise the tires, make sure you have the right pressure in it as well. This one looks good. Moving on. Last but not least, cover the bikes. Now if they're inside the garage, an old sheet will do, even if it's best to have some acrylic material on them, just because the cotton supposedly traps moisture in while the acrylic lets the moisture out. If the bikes are going to stay outside, you might want to invest in a waterproof cover fitted for that specific bike, so there is not too much room in there. And if you park them outside, also you might want to bring your seat back inside the house. It's fairly easy. Every seat is usually easily removable from the bike. They will prevent the seat from hardening up and cracking. If you live in a warm place, obviously there is no need to do all this. You can just limit to wash the bike and put a battery tender if you don't ride the bike for a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, maybe a month. Other than that, for everything I used in this video and everything you need to winterize your bike, check the description down below. There's going to be a link for it. Get yourself one of those fantastic shirts, because for Black Friday and Cyber Monday they're going to be 20% off with Cyber20 code. Put the link as always in the description. Other than that, I hope you get the chance to ride your bike year round. Till then, ride on, and I'll see you next time.